Right. Good morning, guys. So, in our last session, we have dealt with the volumes in our Linux instance. So, any questions on previous session for me, guys? No questions. All good. Okay. So, when coming to today's session, we are going to discuss about user data and metadata. That's a very simple topic, and so while launching our EC2 instance itself, we can pass some commands. So those commands is going to execute whenever we launch our EC2 instance. Either it is a Windows or Linux, we can initialize a simple bash and we can execute all the required commands. Right. So that thing we call it as a user data. And we have another option that is metadata. So as you are aware, metadata is nothing but data about the data. So data about the data, you are going to have a running EC2 instance and you want to know the information about that EC2 instance. Okay, what VPC it is running and what security group it is associated with, right? So those all things we want to know. Public IP address, private IP address. So in that case, we can depend on a URL and that URL, we call it as a metadata URL. So when coming to certification point of view, you can expect one question on this topic. That's what we are covering here. And let me switch to Mumbai region. I'm switching to Mumbai region. Then I'm going to launch a Linux EC2 instance, launch instance. So yesterday, while we are making this EC2 instance as a web server, we have used these commands, right? So these are the commands. Right, so I'm going to use same commands here while passing the user data. So first command yum install stdpd. It is going to make our EC2 instance as a web server, right? So then service stdpd start. It is going to start the stdpd service. Then chk config stdpd on. This is going to make our service as a logon service. Now I want to use echo command and I want to generate a string and I want to write to a location. Yesterday I explained this echo command. So I'm going to take echo and I'm going to take header one and I'm going to call this as this is my BSS web server, bootstrap script web server, and I'm closing the header. So then I'm going to write this output to var www.html index.html. You can give one greater than symbol or two greater than symbol, that doesn't matter. So now where this command is going to execute, if it is a Linux instance, we are going to initialize the bash, then we are going to execute this command. If it is a Windows, we can initialize a PowerShell, then we can execute the commands. So as I mentioned, as it is a Linux instance, so I'm going to take shebang bin/bash. So shebang means hashtag exclamatory. This one we call it as a shebang/bin/bash. Now it is going to initialize the bash terminal. So then it is going to install this. If you don't give y, what happened? It will wait for your input and also that's why you must add y here. Service stdpd start. It is going to start the service. chk config stdpd on. It will make that service as a logon service. Then it is going to generate a script and it is going to write that script under var www.html path. Right. And the file name is going to be index.html. Let me copy this. See, throughout this course, I'm going to use just this script. Throughout this course, I'm going to use just the script, not more than that. Right. So if you are familiar with the script, yeah, no need to worry about Linux things and all. So apart from this, no big thing I'm going to use. Right. So now I'm going to take Amazon Linux 2 AMI. I'm taking T2 Micro. So here, whenever we scroll down to the bottom, we have an option called user data. So I'm going to copy the user data. If you have typos, you can't do anything. So you can stop your EC2 instance, you can edit, but this user data is going to execute only once whenever we are launching our EC2 instance for the first time. So if you want to execute a script after every reboot, you need to depend on another option called cloud init. So that's like, it's a bit lengthy module, and that's not part of our course actually. So I'm going to give a script here, then click on next, 8 gigs. So I'm going to call this as a BSS web server. Click on next. What security group you want to use? I'm going to use an existing security group. So I'm going to choose Linux SC, that is open with port number 80 as well as port number 22. Right. So then click on review and launch. So I'm going to use an existing key pair. Click on launch instance. Now our EC2 instance is provisioning. See, as we have passed that command while launching, so when instance is launched, it is going to execute. So if you want to verify what user data is passed to this EC2 instance handle, here we have an option user data. Click on that. This is what the current user data you have given. If you want to edit, yeah, you can just go here, stop the instance and you can edit it. But if it need to take effect, you need to implement a module called cloud init module. So now, when coming to Windows instances, so this is for Linux, we are initializing a bash and we are delivering it, right? So when coming to Linux, Windows instances, so we have two options. Either you can initialize a script. So you can write commands within the script. You can just give script, open the script and close the script. So in between, you can give all the commands. This option you can use. Otherwise, you can use PowerShell. You can use either of the option, right? So, for example, you want to generate current date and time. So whenever you're taking command prompt, so whenever you give echo, so percentile date and percentile time. See, it is going to show this output. So now whatever the output I'm getting, like, I want to write it to a file in a temporary location and all. Right, so you can just go here and you can give that path. Okay, I want to write this to temp path. So let me give that path here. So click on enter. Access is denied. Come on. We need to run that with admin permissions. In that case, it is going to. But for temp, I think we need to give the file name. So temp slash test.txt. All right, it got created. No need to. So that's a mistake I did. So now in the temp location, we are going to get a file called test.txt. So there it is going to write that command output. So the same thing. I want to pass to my Windows instance. So whenever uh, my instance is started, so it should write this output to that particular file and all. So that we can give in between. So you can give that command in between the script. Right. So this is one simple example. Another simple example is, say, whenever we are launching a Windows instance, by defaultly, it comes with UTC time zone. But I want to get Indian Standard Time (IST) time zone for my Windows instance. So for that, we can depend on a small tool called TZUtil. TZUtil, whenever you are giving /s what time zone you are giving, then it is going to set with that particular time zone. Right. So if you want to see all the available time zones, you can give TZUtil /l. Then it is going to show all the available time zones. What time zone you want to pick, what time zone name you want to see, you can give that here. So if you want to see current time zone, so you can use /g command. TZUtil /g. It shows. See, at moment India Standard Time is got set up. So if you want to set any particular time zone, you can give this command. So while my instance is launching, I want to pass a command. So then TZUtil /s what time zone you want to give. India Standard Time. So it is going to execute this command and it is going to. So if you want to pass multiple commands also, of course, you can pass multiple commands here. All right. So now let's verify this Linux server output. Then we will launch Windows. So I haven't got connected to this web server yet, and I'm going to grab public IP address of this machine and I'm going to give that here. See here, we are able to get it. I haven't logged in, but I'm able to access the web server. So how? Just because of the user data of that instance. So let me quickly launch a Windows instance. I'm going to take Windows Server 2016 base and T2 micro, scroll down to the bottom, and I'm going to use this PowerShell. I'm going to initialize the PowerShell. Then it is going to execute these commands. Right. So then click on next. 30 gigs. So this is Windows BSS server, Bootstrap script server. Then I'm choosing an existing security group, Windows SG. Port number IT and 3389 is open. Review and launching using an existing key pair. Now let's wait for a minute or two. So then we'll get connected and we will verify that. So these are very simple commands, guys. If you have a requirement to launch like a different scripts and all, you need to prepare that script and you can pass a script here. Right. If you can put all the commands into a file and you can even browse that file also. Click on as a file, what file you want to browse, you can browse that file. Whatever the script you have in that file, you will get it here. All right. So you can browse it as a file as well. So now the public IP address, MSTSC. You have the public IP address. So default username is administrator. Then the password. So click on connect, RDP client, get the password. It's not yet available. So let's wait for a minute or two. So once you are within this operating system, if you want to see what user data is passed, so we can use a URL that is http://169.254.168.1.1 .169.254 slash latest slash user data. Whenever you are giving this command, so it is going to show us what exactly user data is passed to this machine. So I'm going to browse the key pair and given the password here. Yep, yes. See here the time zone is set with IST, Indian Standard Time, right? So automatically it won't come with Indian Standard Time. And even if you go to temp, here you can find a script actually. See, you can see this user script. So if you open this user script, so I'm going to open with, let me take notepad. I'm taking notepad. See this, what are all the commands we have given? Those commands is passed here. So this test file also created, but seems some issues with that. So it just generated like, echo date and time. Seems that's a PowerShell thing. So the test file got created and this is what the user data. So PowerShell won't detect percentile. If we give script, yeah, it will detect that. So whenever you are giving script, it is going to open command prompt and I explicitly given PowerShell here, right? So that's why if you are just giving script, yes, it is going to execute. So for Windows, if you want to execute a command after every reboot, so we can add an option called persist. Persist, whenever you make it as a true, whenever you are adding this particular line, so the command is going to execute after every reboot. So this particular line will make this command execute after every reboot. So you just need to add persist. All right. So that is a user data. Now I want to see what user data is passed to this EC2 instance. So for that, open the Internet Explorer. So now give http://169.254.169.254/latest/user-data. So when I'm giving this URL http://169.254.169.254/latest/user-data, then see here, this is what the user data is passed to this EC2 instance while launching. So similarly, if you want to see that in Linux instance, so we can, so let me open, let me get connected to the Linux instance. Key pairs, cmd ssh-i ec2-user, then grab the Linux instance public IP address. We have yes, and here we got connected, sudo space su, clearing the screen. So You can use curl command to get the output. Curl http colon slash slash 169.254.169.254 slash latest slash user hyphen data. When I executed this command, see here, this is what the user data passed to this EC2 instance, right? So this is a URL. You need to add curl basically. Here we have a application that shows the output, but as it is a command line, we need to add curl, right? So that is a user data URL. Similarly, we have metadata URL. Same thing when coming to metadata. Okay. When coming to metadata, so in place of user, you need to give metadata. So whenever you give this URL within your browser, so then it is going to show what are all the details available within this EC2 instance. So I'm just replacing this user with metadata. See, we can get information, we can get all this information of this running EC2 instance. See, if you want to execute, your instance must be in running state, right? So now, for example, you want to see what is the instance ID of this machine. Then next to this metadata, give this instance ID. This is what the instance ID. So if you want to see public IP address of this particular EC2 instance, then go here, get public IPv4, then give that here. So this is the public IP address of this machine. You want to see private IP address of this machine, then give local IPv4. See, same URL I'm using to get public IP address information as well as private IP address information. So that we can give it here. You want to see MAC ID of this machine. So you no need to have access to AWS console level to get this information. So from OS itself, you can get this information. For example, you want to see what is the public key associated to this EC2 instance. So I'm going to grab this public keys option. Whenever you have slash, that means there is some more folders next to it. Okay, there is an option called 0. So give 0, then give slash, enter, then open SSH key. Then again navigate here, give open SSH key. See, this is what the key pair stored within this machine. AWS 730 KP. See security group, all information and all. So just grab the information, give next to it. So what is the VPC ID of this machine? So then we can go here, we can give it, okay, this is a VPC ID, this EC2 instance is running. So what is interface ID? So you can grab that interface ID. Then you can give that interface IDs here. This is a ENI, Elastic Network Interface. Right, security group ID, subnet ID, those all information you can find it by using this particular URL. So remembering this URL and the purpose is sufficient. No need to go in detail, and this basically point to the same machine. You cannot change this URL. While launching, if you want to disable, we have an option whenever you're launching an EC2 instance. If you don't want to give metadata access, then here we have an option metadata accessible. Disable it. Whenever you're turning it on, metadata is not going to be accessible, and even user data also won't work. See, user data also cannot be used at instance standup whenever you're disabling this. And I'm not sure what exactly is enclave. Recently it is added. I'll check and I'll get back to you on that. So here, like within that metadata, multiple versions available. So, you can choose for only version 2 or version 1 and version 2. Right. So just enabling and disabling and what user data you want to pass. So this is a URL. When coming to the same for this Linux operating system. So you just need to add curl to the same URL. If it is a Linux operating system, add curl. Curl then give this URL. Right. So let me quickly show you that sudo space su, and I'm going to clear the screen here. So then I'm going to give curl http://169.254.169.254/latest/meta-data. See, it is showing same results. You want to see AMI ID of this particular machine. Then next to metadata, give AMI ID. See, it is showing the AMI ID here. So similarly, you can find. So when coming to certification point of view, so you can expect one question on this. So you have a running EC2 instance, and that running EC2 instance, within that running EC2 instance, you must know public IP address as well as private IP address information. So then how you are going to get? He is going to give options like, okay, run IP config or run if config, query the local instance metadata, query the local instance user data. So here with this single URL, we are able to get the public IPv4 information, local IPv4 information. Local IP means private IP, public IP means public IP. We are able to get both the IP address information by using same URL. So that answer you need to choose, right? So that is a user data and metadata. So any questions on this, guys? No questions? All right, it's a very simple topic and not that much important topic also. Now, when coming to another option, so we have discussed elastic IP address, right? So we have discussed elastic IP address. So along with that elastic IP address, we do have another option called elastic network interfaces. Elastic network interface means for one EC2 instance, you can give multiple NIC cards. So NIC card. So in simple, for your laptop, you have a LAN card, right? The place like the slot LAN, the fiber connectivity slot. So same one. So for our EC2 instance also, we are going to have a ENI where we can find whenever you navigate to networking, whenever you scroll down here, it shows how many network interfaces added to this machine. Generally, servers is going to have multiple NIC cards. So in AWS, we call it as a ENI. Regularly, we call it as a NIC, Network Interface Card. NIC stands for. Whenever you give NIC card, it shows this is what the card. So for servers, you are going to have multiple NIC cards. Why? Because see, the traffic flowing to server is going to be huge. For our laptop, only one port is sufficient to in the traffic or to out the traffic. That is what the only connectivity to outside world, right? But whenever you are taking servers, so you are going to have multiple. Even this is not a new thing. If you're taking any physical server, for example, Dell Power Edge R730 is a server. This is how exactly the server looks like. Right. Whenever you're taking this server, specifications or images, you can find this server is going to have multiple NIC cards. This is the backside of the server. See here, total 4 LAN slots are available. See, total 4 LAN slots, and here another LAN slot. Basically, this is we call it as a DRAC port or ILO port. Right. So forget about that. So we have 4 LAN ports. Why? So you can connect that to network and traffic flow is going to happen effectively as you have multiple connectivity options. Right. So even if you're taking Dell PowerEdge R630, also it's going to be similar. See here, this is an image. So two LAN ports here, one LAN port here, two LAN ports here. So for most of the server, we are going to have minimum 4 LAN ports, right? So similarly, I'm expecting huge traffic for one of the servers. So I want to go with the multiple NIC cards, multiple NIC cards. So yes, we can associate multiple NIC cards to our AWS environment also. But there is a limit based on the instant type. For example, if you are taking T2 micro, you can associate only two NIC cards only. So how we can associate that we will see. So now I have one EC2, I have both EC2 instance in AP South 1B. Now at moment, so this Windows server, say at OS level also you can do that, guys. Whenever you open command prompt ncpa.cpl, it open network connectivity options, network connections here. See how many Ethernet or LAN cards you have? One. So you can open same thing by going here and click on open networking and sharing center. You will land into this page and change adapter setting. You will land into this page, right? So now we are in this particular page and we have only one NIC card. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create another NIC card and I'm going to associate that here. Okay. So let's navigate to network interfaces here. Select that. Click on create network interface. Description. Additional elastic network interface. In what subnet you want to create? In AP South 1B, I want to create. So go here and pick that. Where is your AP South 1B? This is a AP South 1B. Pick that. So now, how you want to get the private IP address? If you want to pick a custom private IP address, you can go and you can pick that, or just go with the auto assign. So now scroll down what security group you want to. As it is a Windows, I'm going to pick Windows security group. Scroll down, click on create network interface. So now a new network interface got created. This is what the description, but it is in available state. I haven't associated to any instance. I pick that network interface, navigate to actions. See, attach, you can attach to any of the EC2 instance. Detach, you know what exactly it is. Delete, you know what exactly it is. So let me go and attach it to one of the EC2 instance. Navigating here, I'm going to attach to Windows server. Click on attach. So whenever we perform that attach from console level, so here also within a minute or two, we are going to get that. See here, immediately we got another network interface. Earlier, do we have in a minute back, we don't have this, right? Now your machine is going to have multiple NIC cards. So for this NIC card also, we can associate a public IP address to perform such type of addresses. So whenever you click on manage IP addresses, it is going to ask us allow secondary private IP address to be reassigned. See, this is a one private IP address. If you want to associate another private IP address, you can give it. If you want to give any public IP address also, you can give it. So that is manage IP addresses. So associate address. Now, if you have any elastic IP address, you can go here and you can pick this and associate. So your network interface also gets a public IP address. We will get two public IP addresses technically. That with Linux, I will show you output. See, now two private IP addresses we have for this server, right? So two network interfaces and no elastic IP address associated yet. So now, if you want to disassociate or attach, so click on detach. So while you're terminating this EC2 instance, if you enable this option, delete on instance termination, this additional NIC card also deletes along with our EC2 instance. Okay. So whatever security group you have given, you can give that. Source or destination check, we will discuss it in our VPC section. Okay, whenever we are using this for mainly for NAT instance or NAT gateway, there we will discuss it. So just keep it moment. Right, change description of this machine flow log, I'll talk about that. Right, so now we have an option, we can detach from the server. I'm detaching from the existing machine. So immediately it will go from this Windows. Now the same one I want to associate to another Linux instance. But what I want to do, I want to associate a public IP address also. For that, I am generating an elastic IP address. Click on allocate. Right. So this public IP address, I'm going to associate to a new network interface. So that's why we have an option, network interface. I'm selecting network interface. Go here and pick that. This is an additional network interface. I'm going to select it. Do you have any option to pick a private IP address? You can choose or leave it blank. It picks automatically. Associate. So now, whatever the new network interface we created, that network interface by defaultly gets a private IP address. And I generated an elastic IP address and I associated to this. So now, if I go and if I associate this to any of the EC2 instance, so is it now it's in available state. So navigate to actions. Come on, this is not showing attach option. Seems it's a error from AWS. See, it's in available state. Yeah, now it is giving attach option. So click on attach. Now go here, choose what server to what server you want to. So for Linux machine, we have this Linux instance. For this Linux instance, at moment, we have only one public IP address that is giving this output. Fine, we have only one private IP address and only one network interface, no elastic IP addresses. When I associate this, automatically, I'm going to get another IP address to this machine. See, we got two private IP addresses, one public IP address and another public IP address also came as a elastic IP address. See, with both the, we can use both the public IP addresses now. See, both are giving same output, right? Both are giving same output and both public IP addresses are associated. So in your interview, if you got any question, can we associate multiple IP addresses to same EC2 instance? Then answer it as a yes. Okay. So for we can associate multiple ENI, elastic network interfaces to our EC2 instance and we can associate that. So, and when coming to the limit, AWS elastic network interface limits. So basically based on the instant type, we have a limit. So you can find a chart here. So what is the instant type? How many maximum number of interfaces you can connect? So for example, C1 medium, you can associate only two network interfaces. A1 metal, you can associate 8 network interfaces. So that you can find it here. So mainly whenever you're doing clustering kind of mechanism, then you might ask to perform this, right? So let me go here and detach this from existing server and then let's release the elastic IP address. So any questions on the topic, guys?
Yes, Avinash. My first question is, how is public and private IPs are different?
That we will discuss in VPC. Public IP
Okay.
address is unique across the globe. Private IP address unique within the network.
So mean within the subnet, you are saying?
What is subnet?
I mean the internal network of an organization that we talk
Yes.
about. Second is, while choosing this network NIC card, right? You choose the subnet. It's because your instance was particularly in that subnet. That is why you choose 1B.
It should be. If your instance is in AP South 1B, you need to create a interface in AP South 1B only. Then only you can associate. Otherwise, you cannot associate. Just like EBS volumes.
Okay.
Right.
So it is kind of a logical thing, right? I mean, it's not physical hardware getting attached something.
It's a virtual
Yeah.
NIC card.
Virtual NIC card. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, see, so far, like, in our last session and all, we discussed about EBS volumes, right? So, along with that EBS volume, we do have another category called instant store, but we are not using it. It is an outdated, but still AWS is giving support for that resource. So, very, very less chances to get that in your certification exam. So, the concept is when coming to this instant store volumes. So basically, these instant store volumes runs on our EC2 instance. I hope you remember EC2 instance isolation diagram. So here first we are going to have a physical resource, then we are going to have AWS managed firewall, and here a customer managed security group and virtual interface, and we are going to have our EC2 instances here, right? So the this physical resource is going to contain some hard disk, right? So this hard disk storage also you can make it available. So basically later on what Amazon did, Amazon introduced a dedicated service called EBS. So whatever the volume you are creating, you can create this volume and you can give it associate here. So even instances running on this hardware or different hardware, that doesn't matter. So, but before that, we used to have instant store volumes. When coming to instant store volumes, the hardware, the other within the hardware itself, we are going to have a storage. The disadvantage with this mechanism is we cannot perform stop or start our EC2 instance. We cannot perform stop or start as this EC2 instance storage is bound to this physical resource. So we cannot perform start or stop. First limitation. Second limitation, we cannot increase the size. How much is available, Amazon is going to tell us, you can choose it. So we cannot increase this capacities. Why? Because on the physical resource, how much it is available for this instance, AWS will show that in an initial stage itself. So if it is an EBS dedicated service, yes, you can increase, you can modify at any time. But those such type of modifications is not possible with this instance store. So that's why we call it as a ephemeral storages. Ephemeral storage is nothing but temporary storage. The disadvantage is we cannot stop the EC2 instances. So stop and start feature is not available. Once you launch the instance, you need to. So due to any of the reason, if this underlying hardware failure happen, so you are going to lose all your data. See, if it is a EBS volume, I told you one thing. Whenever that instance is performing stop and start, it will check the underlying hardware status. If it is not healthy, immediately that EC2 instance will move to another hardware, healthy hardware. But here the EC2 instance is using storage on the same hardware. So if something happened to this underlying hardware, this instance will become down. So this is also one of the disadvantage. We will lose all the data if underlying hardware failure happen. If you want, you can reboot just like other EC2 instances only. So where we can launch or how we can find that EC2 instances. So whenever you click on launch instance, see here root device type EBS. If you find everywhere, you can find EBS volumes only. So if you want to launch instance store volumes, go to community AMI. Whenever you scroll down bit, you can find this instance store. So I selected this instance store for root device type. So basically this instance store, no free tier eligibility, Why? Because it won't allow us to choose T2 micro. So now you need to choose one of the AMI. See, root device type is instance store. So select that and see T2 micro is not available as the reason is, so on the underlying hardware, whatever the size it is available, see only those we can pick it. So only this much storage we can take. This we can change, but storage we don't have any option to increase and decrease. So you need to choose one of the supported one. So whenever you are picking like any other like AMI and all, so based on that only this configuration is going to select it. So what configuration we require, so only these are the types available, so pick one of the type. So then remaining all options are same here. When coming to storage, see here it is showing instance store, it is showing instant store. So only these are the possible ones. Can we modify this, increase this or decrease this? No, modifying is not possible here. So if you don't want to go with all the three, yeah, you can remove one and you can. This instant store has been deleted but can be restored or overridden. But there is no option to increase and all. So that's why we generally don't use. But whenever you see that question, so just like this main thing. So you might expect a question, very less chances that also. So you have an EC2 instance and that EC2 instance got stopped due to technical issues, and whenever you got that instance up and running, so you find that you don't have any data inside the EC2 instance. What might be the reason and how you are going to fix that issue and all. So we can verify whether that what exactly the true device type, whether it is a EBS volume or instant store volume. Whenever you navigate to storage, read device type as a EBS, then yes, we are going to have the data. If it is instant store, no. So still why Amazon is providing support. So we can expect better data processings. For example, you are building a log processing application. The logs are going to stored in the hard disk drive, right? And the logs are going to processed by the application which is running in your EC2 instance. If logs storing in the same hardware and server also in the same hardware, the processing is going to pretty quick compared to. So if you're depending on a dedicated service called EBS, so that might be running in different hardware and your server is running in different hardware. To process that logs, it might take some milliseconds. It might take some milliseconds or microseconds. So to reduce that milliseconds or microseconds latency, we can go with this instant store. As server is in same hardware, storage also in same hardware. That's why Amazon still supporting. But whenever you are just launching an EC2 instance, you don't find anywhere. Whenever you want to go and specifically pick that, then only you can find it, right? So that is a instant store volumes option. So any questions on that, guys? So instant store versus EBS, you can try to go through this small video on this. Otherwise, we have some images. See this image. So for instant store, see, this is our EC2 instance. The hard disk is here. See, this is a storage for our server. From an AMI, you are going to launch an EC2 instance and all. So these all servers data is going to store here itself. But when coming to EBS, this is a host computer. EBS is a different service. From that EBS, you are going to get the storage. So it is not going to depend on this. So that's why this EC2 instance can move across any of the hardware. It is possible to move across a different hardware. So that is a one simple example for this. Right. So any questions on the topic, guys?
So in production environment, are we using like more than one network interface card?
Yes, sometimes we definitely use. Okay, can you try to answer these questions? So an online application is there. On that application, every Friday, the sales go live and is expecting more load on every Friday. Sales traffic will increase during the sales only, and the platform will handle the increased load. The platform is a three-tier application. Forget about those all things. So
B.
Schedule reserved instances purchase.
B.
yes. So we can go with the scheduled resort instance as Linacode is saying every Friday it is going to happening. So as it is happening on every Friday, so purchase a scheduled resort instance that can give more capacity and all in that Fridays and all. So then we can go with that. And this is another question.
A. Option A.
Create EBS snapshots. He's not involving data lifecycle manager. If he's talking about data lifecycle manager, yes. So you have a volume. Whenever you are creating a snapshot, so do I have any option to choose a different region?
No.
He is not talking about any automation. So he's saying that designing an application that uses Amazon EBS volume must be backed up to a different region. So how should he can do? Create an EBS snapshot directly from one region to another
Yeah,
region.
C.
C.
C
So
should be.
whenever he is using DLM, lifecycle manager, data lifecycle manager, so then along with this region, see here also what is happening. So directly it is not like, directly it is not copying there. So cross region copy means like, it creates a snapshot here, then it copy that snapshot to enable cross region copy. That means you will get a snapshot here. That snapshot will copy to the desired region, but not directly to the desired region. So the answer is C. Create EBS snapshot, then copy them to the desired region. See, even if you observe this setting also, enable cross region copy to copy snapshot created by this policy up to 3 additional regions. Right. So choose C as an option. Directly, we don't have any option to copy there. And yeah, so here, another question.
A. Answer A, almost.
Answer A. So the reason is high rate of random disk reads and writes. So he required
Okay.
high performance, first thing, and the performance also consistent. It must provide consistent performance and for long term. So as it is a long term support, so the data need to be persisted. So you are not allowed to choose instant store. Magnetic is the cheapest one. General purpose for basic and stable workload, not for the high rate of workloads. So as he is talking about, he have high rate of random disk reads and writes. We need to go and choose the EBS provisioned IOPS volume, right? So when coming to this, a solution architect must select the storage type for a big data application that required very high sequential IO. Data must persist if the instance is stopped.
C.
So you see that big data, throughput optimized SDD should come into your mind. So instance store, no, data need to be persist. Data, even in something happened to instance also, you should not lose all the data. Data need to be persist. So you are not allowed to choose instance store. So then EBS provisioned IOPS for big data, high sequential IO. No, for big data, we always, whenever you see big data, go with the ST1, right? So, and he's even looking for lowest cost for the application. He's looking for lowest cost. So throughput is like, cheap compared to SSDs. Why? Because it is a SDD. So these are some questions on the topics we discussed, and I have one more question. Give me a minute. I'll quickly pick that. Okay. So can you answer this question?
Option A. Okay, 1 second.
It's B.
B.
D.
B. B. B.
B.
Yeah.
Immediately to all instance of
Answer.
security group. Yes.
Yes.
So changes to the security group is going to take effect immediately, not only for current instance, for existing instances or even future instance also will open with that particular port.
Yeah.
So that is one. So durable key value is S3, not this one. So Amazon Glacier is designed for
Archive
Data
storage.
archive.
C.
D.
Infrequent.
B. B. You need to select two options.
Infrequently accessed data.
3 and 5. 3
Infrequently accessed data and data
Data archive.
archives.
Archives.
Yes. So we will discuss these topics. And yeah, this is another question.
C.
Local instance metadata.
Metadata.
If you are using IP config or if config, so it shows only private IP address information. It won't show public IP address information. If you open command prompt or terminal, if you give IP config, only private IP address, no public IP address. So that's why, but with metadata, yes, we can get both the information, public as well as private IP address information. Okay. This one, what combination of following option will protect Amazon S3 object from both accidental deletion and accidental overridden?
Versioning. Enable
A-
S3 versioning on the bucket.
AC.
You can enable multi-factor authentication, right? So enable for protected access. No, sorry, that is not a valid option. Disable S3 delayed using IAM bucket policy. Yeah, A and C you can choose here. This we haven't talked. Yeah, I will take you through these questions in our coming sessions. All right, so those are some questions related to the topics we already discussed. And in our tomorrow session, we are going to start with the load balancers. So basically, we are going to have vertical scaling and horizontal scaling. So whenever coming to the vertical scaling, you have a web server and the traffic, like, you expected some traffic. So you provision one configuration. But what is happening? The traffic is increasing. You're getting a lot of traffic. So what you can do? So you can upgrade this EC2 instance. So whenever you're performing hardware upgradation of the same machine, that mechanism, we call it as a vertical scaling. So till some point of time, this vertical scaling is okay. For example, in AWS, we have 3 TB of the server. So you can upgrade till the 3 TB of the server. But if your application is running only in one server, if something happened to the EC2 instance, your application will go down, right? But the same thing, if you deploy your application in multiple servers, or if you are delivering your application from multiple servers, due to technical reason, if one server goes down also, this server can take up all the data and it can deliver, right? So this distribution, we call it as a horizontal scaling. So vertical scaling, same machine, upgrading, but less durability, less resiliency, right? But whenever you are taking, like, your data or application spread across multiple servers, delivering from multiple EC2 instances, horizontal scaling. If something happened to any of the resource also, you can. And we have another advantage here. So whenever you want to perform some upgradations, downgradations, whenever you have only one server, you need to take the downtime. But whenever you have three, so you no need to take any downtime. So for example, you want to upgrade this particular server. Remaining servers will take up all the load. Upgrade this again, add it here. So on the go, without downtime, zero downtime mechanisms we have, so we can upgrade the servers and all, right? So that mechanism we are going to discuss. We are going to launch a couple of servers and we are going to configure load balancer to distribute the load across multiple web servers. So for that, we have mainly three types of load balancers: classic load balancer, application load balancer, and network load balancer. So we will talk about all the three, right? So a small mechanism is different between these two. The supported protocol is different. The remaining process, everything is going to be same. But this classic load balancer, basically, it is a outdated one or previous generation one. So we will launch instances and we will perform all the three. So we'll try to perform classic and application tomorrow, right? So that's it for today's session. See you again tomorrow. Any questions before closing the session, guys?
Homework.
Work, no big things today, right? All small individual topics only. So just like, create the resource and try to
And when is the last day for this class? When we want to complete this one session?
it is not like, fixed one particular day and all. So, but the total minimum 35 sessions, maximum 40 sessions. So we can complete this by, April 15th or April 17th.
Okay.
All right. So Make sure you terminate all your resources once you're done with the lab and all. Right. So that's it for today's session. See you again tomorrow, guys. Thank you.